Hello everybody and welcome to our Facebook Live event today. It's really great to have you with us. I'm just going to give a few minutes just to make sure people can check in and log in and say hello before we get started. So my name is Kate Legg and I'm one of the specialist practitioners that works from Dementia Carers Count. My background is in occupational therapy and I'm joined today by my colleague Dr. Gemima Fitzgerald, who is a clinical psychologist. And this session today is part of our launch programme for the new virtual carer centre that has been developed by Dementia Carers Count. It's been developed in collaboration with carers and our health and social care professionals, and it has lots of resources for family carers that are available day and night. We cover many topics on the carer centre, and one of the main areas we cover is about emotional well-being. So that's why our topic today is about carers' well-being. And I'm just going to get started just by asking Gemima a couple of questions, and then that gives you a chance to put your own questions into the chat box, and we'll endeavour to answer the questions as well as we can. We only have a limited time, so if we don't get to all of the questions, we will follow up after, and there'll be an email address in the chat box, or we can answer them from the chat box. This event is being recorded and it will be uploaded to our Facebook and YouTube channels. So if you haven't been able to watch it live, hopefully you'll be able to watch it later. So I think that's the housekeeping over and done with. So Gemima, I'll hand over to you to introduce yourself.
Okay, thanks, Kate. So I'm Gemima. I'm a clinical psychologist and my background is in resilience. That was my doctoral research, and I work for Dementia Carers Count as an associate practitioner. So it's really good to be here today.
Oh, lovely. So that's great, because our first question is about resilience, because we hear this term lots about resilience and carers resilience. So can you tell us a little bit about what that is?
Yes, resilience is a bit of a buzzword, really. Lots of people throw the word around, and it's really good to have a proper definition, I guess. And I suppose the first thing to say about resilience is it's not a black and white thing where you either have it or you don't have it. There are all times in our life where we feel more resilient than others. So resilience is really about how we cope with stress and adversity and difficult times in our life. And, you know, we all go through tough times. And I know if you're a carer of somebody with dementia, a family carer, then that can be really tough and your resilience can be challenged. And resilience is really, it's about learning skills about how you cope. You're not born resilient. We only develop resilience by going through difficult times, actually. So if life was always wonderful, we wouldn't really need to be resilient. We wouldn't need to have all these coping skills. But when we're going through a difficult time, you know, our resilience can make us feel that we're not coping. Our resilience can be challenged and we think, I can't do this. I'm at my limit. And so it's really important that we find ways, or what are the ways that resilience can be built? How can we do this? How can we look after our well-being? And the main thing is so that we can cope better, but also so that we can be better carers, because, you know, the research shows that as our resilience is strengthened, we will do a better job. We'll be able to keep going for longer and feel more able to cope.
Oh, thank you, Gemima. So we've had a few questions coming through. So, the first question, or the first kind of statement from one of our carers is that I find that I feel guilty when I take time away from my husband and I can't relax anyway. I don't know how to switch off. Do you have any advice?
Yeah, I mean, first to say, I'm sorry you feel like that, because that's awful, isn't it? That feeling of never being able to switch off. I think coming back to what I just said, that it's really important that you know that if you can find ways to look after you, you will actually do a better job. And I think that underpins everything. So, you know, if you can try and sort of get your head around that a little bit, that by you taking time off or by you looking after you, that doesn't mean you're being selfish. It doesn't mean you're having time away from what's important. It means that, you know, you're being sensible and you're trying to, you're trying to look after you, but you're also trying to be able to keep going, be more resilient so that you can be a better carer. And being able to switch off. I mean, there's so many different ways, isn't there? I mean, you know, you're saying that you feel guilty when you spend time away from your husband. Totally understand that. It's really normal to feel that. It's because you care so much. That's the most important thing to say. But also, sometimes, you know, you could go out for a day, but you're still not switching off because you're feeling that sense of guilt or that feeling of worry or anxiety. So I suppose it's really important that you find ways to kind of boundary your time, your self-care time, if you like. So that could be time away from the house. It could be time in another room. But what's really important is that you know that whatever's going on at home while you're not there, that the right things are in place so that you don't have to worry, and then to know that it's okay, you know, have some self-compassion, that you are, you know, there are lots of building blocks to resilience, lots of things that you can do that will make you feel better, but underpinning all of them is self-compassion. So it's really, really important that you know that you are allowed to have time away, more than allowed. It's really important. It's really important for you. It's really important for your husband. It's so important. And so being able to say, well, okay, I acknowledge I feel guilty. That's just a part of being a human being. It's because I love him so much. It's because I care. But also I'm going to treat myself with a bit of kindness here, that actually I'm a human being and I'm important too. And it's important that I look after me, and whatever I'm going to go and do for the next hour or however long I'm out, this will make me feel better as a carer when I come back.
That's great, Gemima, because actually there's been some other comments similar about putting the person they care for first and making them the priority. So that's kind of along similar lines, isn't it? About, right, yeah, prioritizing. Or
yeah, was there another question? Or
yeah, well, just about making sure that the carers prioritize themselves as well as the person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think what's really important is that you know that self-care, looking after you, isn't just about going and having a bubble bath. You know, sometimes we can think, oh, I need to make time for me, I need to go and buy a magazine, I need to read a book, I need to have a bubble bath, all nice things and really good things, but it's actually an attitude. You know, that's what's more important. So you could have 10 minutes away from the house, or you could have 10 hours away. And really, in that 10 hours or 10 minutes, if the whole time you're beating yourself up, it's not going to do you a huge amount of good. So even if you only have moments, if in those moments you can actually just treat yourself with some kindness, like you would to the person, you know, if your best friend or someone that you really love, you know, talk to yourself in a kinder way, treat yourself with a bit more respect, a bit more kindness. That's gonna go a long way. And I know it's really hard. I know, and I know that, you know, as human beings, and especially people who are carers, we tend to always think we're not doing a good enough job. I think that's like the baseline. And really, it's really important that you just take a step back and think, actually, I'm doing my best. And of course, I'm going to make mistakes. Of course, I'm going to get things wrong. You know, try not to just push that thought away. Acknowledge that actually, you know, I feel a bit bad that I took the afternoon off, or that I asked my friend for some help because I just wasn't coping today. But also then just come back to some kindness towards you, and some kindness like you would to your best friend. That's the most important thing, really.
Lovely, thank you. Another question is from somebody that says, my emotions are all over the place. I've never felt like this before. It's so overwhelming. Do other carers ever feel like this?
Oh my goodness. I mean, yes, you know, is the short answer to that. You know, as a human being, we experience all the emotions. You know, all emotions are valid. There's no morality to emotions. There's no bad emotions or good emotions. You know, obviously we all want to feel nice things. We all want to feel happy. We all want to feel peaceful and refreshed, and you know, we want those feelings. But actually, at times, as human beings, whatever we're going through, we can feel angry, anxious, annoyed, frustrated, bored, numb. You know, all of those things are completely normal. So yes, especially when you're going through something really difficult, which caring for someone that's in your family with dementia is incredibly tough at times, or you know, a lot of the time. So yes, feeling overwhelmed is really normal. Other carers definitely feel that too. You know, the dementia carers count. That's why we're here, is because carers find this tough. So you're certainly not alone. And I think in terms of resilience, that's a really important building block, that sense of belonging, that there are other people that feel like me too. It's a sense of common humanity that, you might have met those other people, or you might not have met those other people. You might have met them on a dementia carers count course, or you might have spoken to them in a chat, or you might not have spoken to them. But if you can at least know and tell yourself, other people feel like this as well, I am not alone, that sense of being connected to other human beings, other carers, is so important for your resilience. Because the alternative is that you feel nobody else feels like this, there's something wrong with me, I'm alone, I'm not coping, I'm a failure. And all of those things will really attack your sense of self and your sense of resilience. So yes, you are not alone. Other carers do feel like this as well. It's really normal. In fact, it shows that you are a human being. You're still alive. It's tough, and of course you're going to struggle. Of course you're going to feel overwhelmed. But don't then make it even worse by beating yourself up for feeling overwhelmed. Know that this is really, really normal and tough, and you're doing very, very well. And things like the resources that we supply here through Dementia Carers Count, like this chat, just if you can just take away that sense of other people feel like this, then that's important. I mean, just in the questions we've had so far in the first 5 minutes of this, they're all quite similar, so you're certainly not alone, even in this Facebook Live.
Thanks, Gemima. Another comment is that I honestly don't feel like I'm doing a very good job. I'm always just frustrated or upset and find it really hard. Is there anything I can do?
So I think when we beat ourselves up for not doing a good job, it's really tough, isn't it? And I'm sorry you feel like that, because yeah, it's horrible feeling like that. I think what's important to know is that there is not a perfect way of doing this. If only there was, it would be so much easier, wouldn't it? If there was a textbook that said, right, today, this is exactly what you need to do. You're learning, we're learning, as a charity, we're learning, we're all learning. And the situation you're in, no one else has ever been in exactly the situation you're in. So you're learning as you go. And that's really, really important. And there are experts that you can reach out to. There's experts at DCC. There's other carers that you can talk to, but no one really walks in your shoes. So I would say to you, I'm sure you're trying your best. And that's really the most important thing. There will be days when you get to the end of the day and you think, oh, I messed up today, or I made a mistake, and that's really normal and a part of being a carer. You're not going to always get it right. And actually, what is right, we don't actually know some of the time. Sometimes you will snap, sometimes you will get frustrated. But the most important thing is that our emotions, if you feel guilty because you got frustrated, then use that emotion as information. So if that emotion is saying, oh, I messed up today, I shouldn't have done that, then try and repair. Go, if you need to apologize and wipe the slate clean, put right what you can, but then don't then just get stuck into a sort of a cycle of beating yourself up about it, because it's not going to help you, and it's certainly not going to help the person you're caring for. So of course you get frustrated, of course you get annoyed. Be kind to yourself, and you absolutely do deserve me time. It's really, really important. As I said before, it's how you'll cope with this. There's no prizes for working 24 hours a day, round the clock, 7 days a week, burning out, and then having to give up because you can't cope anymore. It's much, much better if you can find ways to just make this more palatable, more bearable, so that you just, if you think of yourself as a mobile phone, you plug yourself into a charger every now and again. It's so important, because otherwise your battery is going to go flat. So finding time for you, whether that's a phone call with a friend, whether that's getting out for a coffee with someone, whether that's having a bath, whether that's going for a nice walk in nature. We know that 20 minutes spent looking at green, whether that's nature, whether that's trees, whether that's fields, it boosts your dopamine in your brain, and it will boost your mood. So little things that you do actually can have a big effect. Drinking water really can help you cope with anxiety. So there are things that you can do, but absolutely underpinning it all, you need to know that you do deserve this. You absolutely do. You're a human being, worthy of self-care, worthy of respect.
Oh, thanks, Gemima. Another question. I get no help from my brothers and sisters with caring for my mum, and it's causing problems amongst us, making me feel resentful. How can I get them more involved?
Okay, I mean, that's really tough, isn't it? When often in families, it tends to be like one person quite often that kind of picks up the slack, and it takes on that caring role. And I think sometimes people are quite happy with that arrangement in the family, because it kind of just makes it easier for them. I think if you're the one that's doing it all, then that's going to be really tough on you, and maybe you feel resentful, maybe you feel burnt out. I suppose the first thing to say is that have you ever tried, and I know this can be really tough, but have you ever tried to talk about this with your family members? So sometimes we can assume that everybody knows that we're overdoing it, but sometimes people don't see, they see what they want to see. So if you haven't already done this, and apologies if you have already done it, but if you haven't, I would say if you can try and have some sort of a family discussion about this, a family meeting, that would be brilliant. That would be amazing. If you can get everybody in one room, that would be great. If you can't, maybe a family group chat. But it's really important that you speak your mind and say that you're finding this too much and it's overwhelming. But maybe before you do that, have a little think about how would you like things to be. So rather than just think, I'd like some more help, what kind of help? Because it could be that there's things that you are quite happy doing and you think actually you are the best person to be doing this and it's okay. But there might be some other things that you think, no, if my brother could do this part once a week or twice a week or whatever it is, that would really help me out. And if my sister could do this other thing, so if you could have a little idea before you ask them, that would be great. So that if they ask for you for any ideas, you've got some. I would say try and plan. I would even plan what you want to say. Write some bullet points is often quite good. And maybe role play it with a friend, have a chance to think, well, okay, I've got this really difficult conversation. I don't know what I'm going to say. I'm worried about getting emotional or getting upset or getting angry. Can we just practice how I'm going to say this? Sometimes I find doing things like that quite helpful. And I would say it's part of being assertive, isn't it? It's difficult, but if you can just express what it's like for you and what you would like to be different. Now, you can't control what the response is going to be. All you can control is what you say and hope that will open up a discussion. They might not offer and run in straight away and offer some things, but it might give them some food for thought. They might come back. And if there's nothing, if people are just absolutely no way, I can't help, then I guess it's back to the drawing board, asking if you've got any other support network around you, any other friends or anyone else that you can talk to. And obviously, knowing that if you're really struggling and things are breaking down, then maybe that might be a time to get some other services involved for you.
Yeah, thanks, Mum. I think the suggesting things that you might want to help is really useful, because sometimes we hear carers say or family members say that they can see that somebody's under a lot of stress, but they don't know what to do. And so because they don't know what to do, they tend to not do anything. So sometimes it's helpful if you could say, oh, actually, it would help me if you took Dad to this appointment, or if you did. So actually giving those practical suggestions sometimes is helpful. So we've heard that before. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And then another question, I really struggle to sleep even though I'm so tired. Do you have any tips other than the usual of turning off the phone and having a bath? My GP says that it's normal when you're a carer, but I'm so tired all the time and short-tempered.
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, when you're not getting enough sleep, which, is really common, as your GP said, when you're a carer, it's so much harder to cope, isn't it? You're running on half a tank all the time. If you start the day on half a tank, it's difficult. So Yeah, I think obviously have things like having a bath, switching your phone off, really, really good. Other sort of sleep hygiene things like not having caffeine, I would say after about 3 o'clock in the afternoon is probably good. Funnily enough, I know, and I know a lot of people can get into the habit of having a glass of wine before they go to bed, or an alcoholic drink, because it helps them relax. Actually, the research shows it doesn't really help. It might help you get off to sleep, but actually it'll probably disturb your sleep in the night. You'll probably find yourself waking up a bit more. So it's not the best thing to have alcohol before you go to bed. It's not the best thing to have caffeinated drinks or very sugary drinks. None of those things are really helpful. I would say, as well as switching off screens, having some sort of a nighttime routine is really, really good, because what it does is it sort of psychologically helps your brain to kind of get into a habit of knowing, oh, I'm unwinding now. So for example, if your bedtime, say your bedtime's 10 o'clock at night, then maybe I'd say from about 8:30, start winding down. That doesn't mean you can't go on your phone after 8:30, but start having some sort of a routine. So that could be a bath. It could be, oh, I'm going to read a book for a little bit. It could be, I'm going to watch TV, but I'm going to watch something I'm not going to watch, so it's going to get my heartbeat racing. I'm going to watch something a little bit chilled, a little bit calm, if you can find anything. Yeah, it's something that relaxes you. Also, during the day, and this is especially important in the winter months, actually, to try and get outside and get some fresh air, because what we know is that our brains produce something called melatonin, and that's the chemical that helps us sleep at night. And if you've not had enough daylight during the day, then our brains don't produce enough melatonin. So getting out for a good half an hour in the daylight, doesn't have to be sunny, just the daylight, is really, really important. So sometimes we can be stuck indoors all day and then it's really hard to sleep. So I would say, if you can, try and get out, go for a walk. And I think that tends to be very helpful. So, some people find, doing some sort of physical exercise as well can be really, really helpful for sleep. So I think finding what works for you, but know that there are things you can do. It's not helpless. And obviously GPs can prescribe, as a short-term solution, can prescribe sleep aids. There's also some herbal things that you can buy at the chemist, but I would always try and do these more practical things first, because there are some things that can really, really help. And also, it's just another thing, when you go to bed, if you find, and we've all done this, you find you're not able to sleep. Say you're lying in bed and you're thinking, oh, I want to get to sleep. I'm so tired. I'm so tired. And that can be quite stressful, because you really want to get to sleep, but you're not getting to sleep. And then you can think, oh gosh, time's ticking on. I've got to get up in 7 hours, and you start getting more stressed. I've got to get up in 5 hours, and it's more stressful. I think stop doing that, because it's just not helpful. If you can, if and when you're not sleeping, you've got two ways of looking at it. You can either just get up and just say, right, I'm going to get up until I'm tired. So lying here beating myself up for not sleeping isn't helpful. So that's one way of doing it. I don't tend to do that. Some people find that helpful. What I tend to do is, if I'm not sleeping and I'm struggling, rather than saying, oh God, I've got to get up in 4 hours, I'm going to be exhausted tomorrow, I just say, well, my body is lying down and my body is resting. Even if my mind isn't resting, even if my brain isn't asleep, my body is resting. And so I try and just have that approach. So rather than beating myself up for not sleeping, which is really counterproductive, just being able to say, it's okay, at least I'm in bed, at least I'm giving my body a rest. And if I fall asleep, wonderful. And if I don't, well, I'll probably get a better night's sleep tomorrow night. But just know that you are actually resting while you're lying there.
Okay, thank you. I think we've got time just for one more question or comment. It says, I think I am depressed, but I really don't want to go down the road of taking antidepressants. I want to be able to tackle it myself, but it is hard to have the energy when you're looking after someone else. Do you have any advice?
Oh, yeah, I'm really sorry you feel like that, because feeling depressed, the clinical definition of depression is 14 days or more of feeling really flat. There's lots of different symptoms of depression, but if that's you, and for 14 days or more, you've been feeling really, really flat and low in mood, tearful, not enjoying the things you used to enjoy, all of that stuff, then that's really, really tough. First thing to say is there's no shame in taking antidepressants if you decide to go down that route. It doesn't mean you failed. It doesn't mean you're not coping. Sometimes people just find that that's enough of a help, as well as doing all the other psychological things that you can do just to pick yourself out of a hole. But that's entirely up to you. If you don't want to take them, then that's completely commendable, but that's up to you. I think it is really hard when you're caring for someone else, which is why I would say, you know, if you need to take antidepressants, there's no shame in that whatsoever. I think knowing that this is temporary. So I think with depression, it can feel like things are always going to be this bad, and really having a sense of hope that you know, you're not always going to feel like this. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know how this is all going to go, but I do know that our moods change and our feelings fluctuate, and however hard and dark it feels right now, it won't always feel like this. And I think it's really important that you know that. I like, there's a quote I heard once that I quite like, that said, if the best thing to do when it's raining is just let it rain. So if you can just know, okay, this is hard. Today is really hard. I'm not going to beat myself up for it. I'm not going to question myself because I'm not doing well enough or I'm failing, but just to know that this is a bad day, but it doesn't mean it's a bad life. It will get better one day. The rain will stop. That, you know, having some physical activity is really, really good for mood. It just is. It gets the endorphins going in your brain. So having a walk, getting the blood pumping around your body, really important. Doing some exercise, whether it's yoga, whether it's aerobic exercise, whether it's going for a run or whether it's going for a walk, or, you know, any exercise is really, really good for your mood. So if I know it's hard when your energy levels are low, but if you can get yourself moving, it will help you. Sometimes music is great. You know, if you haven't got the energy to do that, then putting on some uplifting music, I think, can be a really good start. Music is such an entrance, I think, into our well-being, into our souls. So if you can find some music, I like to have a playlist. I've got one playlist called Happy that I just put on, of just songs that I've found that if I'm feeling a bit flat, I put this playlist on and it just lifts me. So that's an idea. Think of some music, and have a think about the people. If you've got any people in your life that when you spend time with them, maybe it's one person, they tend to lift you. It could be because you have a really good cry and a chat and it makes you feel better afterwards, or it could be because they're just funny and they make, you know, but have a think about who you like to spend time with, if you can, if there is anyone. I think that's a really good start, and to know that, you know, it's understandable that this is tough. It's understandable you don't have the energy, and so be kind to yourself through it.
Oh, thank you. I'm just going to squeeze one last one in because I just think it's really important and quite relevant. Since the lockdown, I don't want to risk seeing anyone again, just in case, and I'm missing my friends and normal life. I don't know if it will ever come back. Any thoughts just briefly about
really
how people cope with that?
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? It's really tough, and especially if you find that you're shielding and you still don't feel comfortable seeing friends and family. Really, really tough. I would say, obviously, you know, things like Zoom, we've all got into that, haven't we, over the last couple of years? So that's a good way. Having phone calls, texting, all the other uses of technology that you can to talk to people. But if there is a way of meeting up with people outside, I would go for it. Even in the cold, it's still worth it. So if you can find a way, talk to friends about, is there a way we can do this so I feel safer? So, you know, whatever feels comfortable for you. But if you can say, well, I don't mind meeting up with a friend, I don't want to see her in her house, but if I wear a mask and we sit outside on a bench with a coffee 2 meters apart, or if, you know, we go for a walk in the park, then try and find a way, because I think we're social creatures and it's not healthy for us to never meet up and never see people. So I totally understand where you're coming from, but if you can try and talk to people and ask for their support in making this feel more comfortable for you, that would be a good step.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you, Gemima. We have to wrap up there, unfortunately, but hopefully we can do something like this again. Just a couple of technical things. I've had a note to say that there has been some links put onto the chat to unverified sites. So we recommend that you don't click on any links that are on the chat. And also, if you want to discuss this topic much more and in more detail, we have some other sessions coming up. So this Wednesday at 2 o'clock, we have something called a live online learning, which is a session that you sign up for, and there'll be some teaching around psychological needs of carers and people's well-being, but then also an opportunity to ask questions in person, well, via Zoom. So that session is tomorrow at 2 o'clock. If you go onto the website, you can see the link there. We've also got a session on Thursday evening around Mental Capacity Act and what that means for people. And there's a session on Friday morning, another live online session about understanding why people with dementia are all different. So a little bit looking at, what contributes to people's situations. So that's just a few of our live online sessions coming up. But please do have a look at our virtual carer centre for all the other resources that are available. And we would really welcome any feedback. So there's contact places on the website and our email address. And if you've got any feedback about the material we've got online, that would be great. Or if you've got things that you think, it'd be really useful to know about, then let us know that as well. So it's been great. Thank you everybody for coming, and thank you so much, Gemima, for sharing and giving us lots of help and support. That's been brilliant.
Sure.
So take care, everybody. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.